Please let me out.
You're really good at pretending to be a little girl.
Thank you.
At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to a belly dancer named Abigail. Unbeknownst to her, some criminals are already lurking within her residence. Suddenly, they launch a surprise attack, administering sedatives to render her unconscious before kidnapping her and swiftly taking her away from the premises. They bring her to a secluded mansion upstate, where they find their leader Lambert, who tells them not to disclose any personal information amongst themselves or to Abigail. He explains that it is a 24-hour job and the hard part is already over, and now they just have to babysit. Joey asks about the girl's identity, to which Lambert replies that she is the daughter of a very wealthy individual who is about to be $50 million poorer, and to ensure they are not tracked, he announces that he will be collecting their cell phones. The group includes Joey, a former army medic and recovering drug addict, Frank, a former NYPD detective, a wealthy hacker, Sammy, a sociopathic driver, Dean, a Marine sniper, Rickles, and a dim-witted Canadian mob enforcer, Peter. These names are merely aliases inspired by the Rat Pack, and the members are strictly forbidden from sharing their real names or any personal information, provided they keep Abigail safe. Each member will receive a $7 million check after 24 hours. Joey goes to check on Abigail, who pleads with her to remove her blindfold, complaining that it's too tight. Joey dons her mask for safety and obliges her request. Noticing that the cuffs are hurting her, Joey asks Abigail to sit up. She then frees her hands and recuffs them in front, allowing her more comfort. Joey explains to Abigail that they are holding her until her father pays a ransom. When Abigail anxiously asks if they plan to hurt her, Joey reassures her that as long as she behaves and her father pays the ransom, she will be fine. Abigail asks for a promise, and Joey responds by making a pinky promise, assuring her that she will not let anyone harm her. During their conversation, Abigail shares her name with Joey, who in turn reveals that she has a son around Abigail's age. Abigail then tells her that they have made a mistake because her father doesn't care about her. As Joey prepares to leave, Abigail says she is sorry about what's going to happen to her. Joey rejoins the group and confides in Frank, revealing that the girl hinted that her father might be a particularly violent man. She asks Frank if he knows who the girl's father is, but Frank admits that he doesn't know. Later, Frank visits Abigail's room and is startled to find her unblindfolded. Concerned that she might have seen his face, he confronts her. Abigail assures him that she hasn't seen his face, and when Frank presses her to reveal her father's identity, she reluctantly and fearfully gives the name Christoph Lazar. Alarmed, Frank exits Abigail's room and announces to the group that he is leaving. Concerned, the group gathers around him, and Joey asks what happened. Frank reveals that the girl is Christoph Lazar's daughter, a notorious and powerful underworld figure. Joey suggests they should just leave her some food, make an anonymous call, and then leave this place. Frank reveals she has seen his face because of Joey, but Joey says she was the only one designated to enter and exit Abigail's room. Dean says Christoph is just an urban legend, but Frank insists that he is real. The group questions Joey's decision to remove the girl's blindfold, suggesting that they have to kill the girl now. However, Joey opposes this. The group eventually resolves to continue with their original plan, and then they will disappear once they have received their share of the money. Later, Rickles tells Joey that he doesn't trust these fools, and suggests they watch each other's backs, to which she agrees, noting she was thinking the same. Meanwhile, Dean sees an old painting in which the girl depicted looks like Abigail. He proceeds to the basement, where a door opens by itself. Perplexed, he enters the room, where he is startled by a rat. However, as he attempts to leave, he is suddenly dragged by an unseen presence. Upon hearing his screams, Sammy rushes to the basement to investigate, where she is startled by him, and to her horror, she discovers that his head has been severed. She informs everyone about this, and by looking at Dean's corpse, Frank says it looks like a wild animal ripped him apart. Sammy notices that they are all acting weird, to which they tell her about Lazar's headman, Valdez. Several years ago, 3 top members of the Lazar gang were apprehended by the FBI. The night before their trial, they were kept hidden on the top floor of a hotel. A dozen agents were stationed in the adjacent room, and 2 were positioned at the door. The following morning, the FBI stormed in, only to find their bodies gruesomely mutilated. Limbs and organs were missing, and severed heads bore the signature of Valdez. And there was no way in and out of the room except the front door or the 23rd floor window. They then decide to check on the girl and find her in her room. However, Recapss warns that just because she's there doesn't mean Valdez isn't here. He opts to leave, but as he opens the door, they are shocked to discover another barred door, realizing they are locked inside. Just then, the security system of the house activates and they realize that this whole thing is a trap. Joey rushes to Abigail and asks her, "Did anyone else besides her and the man with glasses come in here?" Initially, Abigail denies it, but then she confesses that the man with the glasses told her to keep it a secret, threatening to harm her if she didn't comply. Joey says she will not gonna let him hurt her, but she needs her to tell her what he said. Abigail tells her that he said he works for her father and his name is Valdez. Just then, Recapss calls her out, informing her that someone stole his rifle. Joey then reveals that Frank is Valdez. They decide to find another way out of the house, but as they proceed, Joey hears a noise, and when she looks back, she notices Recapss standing in a peculiar manner. Joey approaches him cautiously, but is horrified to discover that he has been fatally injured by someone, and his lifeless body falls on her. She descends the stairs searching for Frank, confronting him about why he brought them there to kill them. Frank pulls out his gun, claiming he doesn't know what she's talking about and urging her to share her thoughts. She accuses him of being Valdez, the one who killed Dean and Recapss. Frank dismisses her claim, suggesting that Joey has let the girl get inside her head and that the girl is attempting to turn them against each other. He insists that they need to handle the girl more forcefully and instructs Peter to do so. Joey attempts to intervene, but Peter asserts that it's his job. He rushes to Abigail's room, intending harm, but before he can act, Joey intervenes and Frank also arrives. Amid the altercation, Sammy notices that Abigail easily removes the cuffs from her hands and tries to warn the others. Suddenly, Abigail transforms into a vampire and lunges at Peter, but Frank shoots her. However, to their astonishment, Abigail rises again and advances toward them. Joey shoots her, but when they realize bullets can't harm her, they decide to lock her in the room. Distressed, Joey insists they must find another way out, but Frank explains that he has checked all the other doors, and they are equipped with magnetically sealed locks, with shutters 2 inches thick. Frank suggests preparing themselves to kill Abigail, but Joey disagrees, stating that killing her would be the worst decision they could make, because they would lose their only bargaining chip. She suggests trading Abigail to Lazar for their lives, but Frank doesn't agree. Frank, Peter, and Sammy proceed to confront Abigail, but are shocked to see her dancing with Dean's body. After a while, Abigail notices them and drops Dean's body, asking them what's happening. Sammy rushes towards her, but Abigail lunges at her, shocking them as they realize that garlic does not affect her. Frank and Peter try to intervene, but she throws them away, and they notice that even stakes and Christian crosses do not affect her. She injures them, prompting them to flee from there. As they come downstairs, Joey suggests using a tranquilizer Lambert had given them earlier for the kidnapping. She proposes splitting up, with whoever finds Abigail first informing her, so she can approach with the syringe. After a while, Sammy gets startled by bats, causing her to fall into a swimming pool, and, to her horror, she finds that it's filled with dead bodies. Meanwhile, Abigail approaches Peter, who becomes terrified and alerts the others to the vampire behind him. He manages to trap her in the upstairs hallway, but she breaks through the door and resumes chasing Peter. Peter flees for his life, but Frank opens a door, causing Peter to fall down. Abigail then starts chasing Frank and pushes him down the stairs. Joey attempts to tranquilize her, but Abigail throws the syringe away, and when Sammy rushes to help Frank, Abigail bites her arm. She then grabs Frank's leg and begins to fly, but just then, Peter jumps on her, and saves Frank. Meanwhile, Joey manages to grab the syringe and successfully tranquilize her, causing her to fall unconscious. Later, when Abigail wakes up, she finds herself locked in an elevator. Joey tells her that if she reveals how to get out of there, they'll let her go. Abigail confesses that she orchestrated everything and that Lambert works for her. She then reveals Sammy's real name as Jessica, disclosing her past of starting her career by siphoning money from her wealthy parents' bank account. This led to investments, personal accounts abroad, and eventually targeting the bigger fish, one in particular. She then reveals Peter's real name as Terrence, who serves as muscle for the Montreal Broussard family. She taunts him, questioning if breaking necks for pay bores him, enduring endless teasing from co-workers about his perceived lack of intelligence. She accuses him of stealing from his crew, a small subsidiary of their empire, and mocks his weakness and unfaithfulness, labeling him a drunkard and questioning how long the stolen money will last. She then reveals Frank's identity as a former detective, Adam Barrett, who infiltrated their branch in New York under disguise. Abigail questions how empty he felt when he finally arrested the 3 lieutenants he had worked so hard to get close to, and reveals she is the one who ripped their bodies apart in the hotel penthouse because of him. She then reveals the identity of Joey as Ana Lucia Cruz, a former army medic who was dumped out of service for shooting up Uncle Sam's morphine. She tried to take care of her son before abandoning him with his jerk father and became an underground doctor for some very shady people. But one day, she got carried away doing her job, and instead of taking out a bullet, she tore an artery, and someone very important to her father's business bled out. Abigail draws a parallel between Joey and Detective Barrett, noting that neither of them returned to their children. Joey asks Abigail how many of her father's enemies she thinks she'll have to kill before he loves her again. Frank then questions why, if this is about revenge, she brought them here instead of just killing them, to which Abigail responds, saying she likes to play with her food, and they are just like any other sack of meat she has brought here over the years, just something to help her pass the time. Joey asks Abigail, who is currently inside the cage, but Abigail responds by saying that if they let her out, she'll spare the lives of 2 of them. Frank suggests killing her, but Abigail counters by stating that now only the one who lets her out will live. Peter attempts to open the door to save his life, but Joey shoots him. She remarks that she almost missed him, then asks him to hand over his gun so she can treat him. They leave Frank in charge of watching her, and Abigail tries to convince him to open the door. Frank responds that he will consider it if she tells him how to get out of there, to which Abigail agrees, but insists that he must let her out immediately after she provides the information. Frank agrees, and Abigail tells him about the secret door in the library. She instructs him to push the bookshelf on the right wall, using the book titled "And Then There Were None." After receiving the information, Frank breaks the deal and refuses to open the cage door. However, Abigail breaks the gate with one blow and starts moving towards Frank, dancing menacingly. Before she can kill him, Joey arrives and breaks wooden planks off a window, exposing Abigail to the sunlight, her only weakness. Abigail swiftly moves into the shadows, screaming in pain, and seizing the opportunity, Frank and Joey flee from the scene. As they all come out and stand in the sunlight outside, Joey notices Frank searching for something, and eventually finding the book. However, when he takes it out, nothing happens, and Frank realizes that Abigail has fooled him once again. Later, Sammy suggests that if they can find the power source, they can short it out. They split into 2 teams to locate the power source. However, suddenly, Sammy is transformed into a vampire under Abigail's control. She attacks Peter, feeding on him before ultimately killing him. After a while, when Joey and Frank arrive, Sammy acts normal and tells them that Abigail killed Peter and is still in there. However, Joey quickly realizes that Sammy has been turned into a vampire, and as Sammy turns towards them, Joey and Frank flee for their lives. Sammy attempts to attack them, but Joey reflects the light from a tray and destroys her. Just then, the secret door opens, and despite doubting that it could be a trap, both Joey and Frank decide to enter in search of the exit. They find the mansion's control room and run into Lambert, who is revealed as a vampire. Lambert says he brought him back to offer him a deal, but when Joey declines, He attacks her and says he is not talking to her. He then explains that Abigail turned him 2 years ago when she found out that he helped Frank in New York. She came for him and threatened his family, and now all he does is bring all her father's enemies here. He asks him to help him kill Abigail, and in return, he can have anything he wants, but he will need an upgrade. He informs Frank that he has notified Lazar about the situation, and Lazar is on his way to the mansion. Lambert reveals his intention to kill the girl and her father, and to take over everything. Frank agrees and instructs Lambert to bite him. Lambert knocks Joey unconscious and proceeds to bite Frank. He then makes Frank drink his blood, initiating the transformation into a vampire. Meanwhile, Joey wakes up, and Lambert tells Frank to meet his first victim. However, Frank stabs and kills Lambert instead. Just then, Abigail arrives and asks if Lambert tried to convince him to take everything before killing him. She then lunges at Frank, but he overpowers her and drinks her blood. Sensing an opportunity, Joey deactivates the security measures and attempts to escape, but finds the exit locked. Now, as Frank advances toward her, Joey tries to fight back, but he easily throws her aside. He then grabs her by the neck and lifts her into the air, threatening to make her his doll. He declares that they will go see her son, and he will force her to kill him. He then throws her down, but Abigail catches and saves her. Abigail admits she's too weak to defeat him alone and implores Joey to help her kill him, promising to let her go if she does, and she can see her son again. Now, as Frank descends the stairs, Abigail and Joey team up to fight him. They give their best effort to defeat him, but he easily overpowers them, knocking them both down. He then bites Joey, initiating her transformation into a vampire and causing her to fall and collapse. He instructs Joey to pick up the stake and then orders her to get up. Frank commands her to kill Abigail, and Joey begins moving toward Abigail. However, Joey attacks him, but he dodges and throws her away. Abigail seizes the opportunity to attack him, and together they finally manage to kill him by stabbing his heart with a stake. With Frank dead, Joey is freed from the vampire's curse, and as she prepares to leave the mansion, Abigail expresses hope that she gets Justin back. Joey corrects her, saying it's Caleb, and just then, Abigail's father appears, causing Joey to become terrified. Before he can kill her, Abigail stands up to her father and reveals that Joey saved her life. She emphasizes that Joey was there when he was not. Lazar relents and permits Joey to leave, and as she gets in her car, Joey treats herself to a lollipop before departing the estate to reunite with her son. Thanks for facing the frights with us. If you survived this video, drop a like, summon that subscribe button, and brace yourself for more horror. Until next time, stay spooked.